Hey guys, before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It really helps out the channel and keeps you updated with our new uploads. Inglourious Basterds challenges other films of its genre. The main trailer promised an action-packed war movie, where a squad of American Jews hunts down Nazis. But in reality, the film turned out to be something entirely different. There's barely 15 minutes of shooting, while the remaining 2 hours consist of intense, dramatic dialogues. This film mocks action movies and shows just how ridiculous the clichés we're so used to really are. Most action films follow the same basic rules. The main character has to be stronger and smarter than everyone else. We watch him, admire him, and want to be like him. We're used to seeing a secret agent infiltrate the enemy ranks, uncover their plans, outsmart everyone, and foil every scheme. He is the initiator and driving force of the story. In Inglourious Basterds, everything is the other way around. The villain here is smarter than any of the heroes, and cheap tricks like disguises, which usually work in other films, fail to fool anyone. The secret agents are exposed before they even have a chance to come together, and the good guys succeed in their plans only because they were allowed to. From the very beginning of the film, we witness the complete dominance of the antagonists. They control every situation, and deceiving them is impossible. And of course, it all begins with Hans Landa. When Hans Landa arrives at Monsieur Lapadite's house, he already knows that the man is hiding Jews. Landa loves rumors because facts can be confusing, while rumors, whether true or false, reveal what's really going on in someone's mind. He has questioned the neighbors, Lapadite himself and his daughters. He knows who speaks English. He knows the names of all the Dreyfuses, and he may have even seen their family photograph. Landa is simply toying with Lapadite. He enjoys conversation and takes pleasure in his own wit. Tarantino emphasized that Landa doesn't actually smoke a pipe. He only smokes cigarettes. But in this scene, he uses the pipe as part of his intellectual game, comparing himself to Sherlock Holmes, as if to say, "I know you're lying to me. You can't fool me that easily." The moment he steps into the house, he already knows exactly where the Jewish family is hiding. Landa loves to indulge his inflated ego. He enjoys interrogating people and mocking them. He takes pride in his unofficial title, the Jew Hunter. And yet, even knowing that a Jewish family is hiding beneath the floorboards, he proceeds with the interrogation, insisting that it's merely a formality. When questioning Shosanna, he tells her the same thing, that it's just a formality. Landa is a first-class detective. He knows the names of all the bastards and has an exceptional memory for faces. He easily recognizes Hugo Stiglitz and Wilhelm Wicke. When Landa begins his signature interrogation, he already senses that something about Shosanna isn't right. He knows everything about the cinema's owners, that they never had a niece, and that a black projectionist named Marcel works there. Moreover, he realizes that Shosanna is the very same girl he once let go. For such a brilliant detective, identifying someone even after 4 years is no challenge. Hans once again mocks her, just as he did Lapadite. He orders her a glass of milk, a subtle reminder that she came from a dairy farm, the place where her family was killed. Landa drank milk that day. On top of that, he orders her a strudel with cream. In the first half of the 20th century, strudels were often made with rendered fat, especially during the war. In other words, he orders her a completely non-kosher dessert that Jews normally wouldn't eat, and then adds cream to make it even more so. He asks her to wait for the cream, deliberately drawing attention to it. Jewish dietary laws forbid mixing meat-based products with dairy. Moreover, not every Jew would even drink milk collected by a non-Jew. Landa is hinting that he's seen through her disguise. "I know you're from the dairy farm, and I know you're Jewish." He sees right through her. Shosanna takes only a small bite of the strudel, and then Hans offers her a cigarette, pointedly noting that it's German. He fixes her with the same heavy, piercing gaze he once gave Lapadite. Hans lets her go, because even then, a plan is already forming in his mind. The events unfold in June 1944. Germany's high command already understood that the war was lost, and Landa knew this perfectly well. Switching sides was his only way out. It would be in his interest to gather all the Nazi leadership in one place and allow a Jewish woman to kill them all. He was anticipating a chance to contact the Americans and the British, help them win the war, and thereby secure a decent life for himself. But Hans Landa didn't rely solely on Shosanna. While watching the film, one might wonder, how did Bridget von Hammersmark know that Hitler would attend the premiere of Nation's Pride? It wasn't standard practice to announce Hitler's itinerary to movie stars or other guests. Only ministers, generals, and Hans Landa himself, who was responsible for the event's security, had access to that information. Landa leaks this information so that someone would pass it on to the bastards. He wanted them to know that all the Nazi leaders would be gathered in one place, so he could later take advantage of the situation when they wiped out the entire elite of the Aryan nation. Landa stood to benefit the most from such an outcome. Let's recall the scene in the cinema. Just like in the previous 2 interrogations, Hans Landa already knows everything he needs to know. He's toying with the bastards. Everything feels like cheap justice. He knows everything, they know everything, and the situation is extremely awkward. When Bridget von Hammersmark tries to explain herself, Hans bursts out laughing at her blatantly foolish excuse. The most logical thing for her to say would have been that she broke her leg falling down the stairs. That's exactly what he expected. But von Hammersmark claimed she'd been mountain climbing, and he simply couldn't hold back at such a ridiculous story. He was always one step ahead. In every interrogation scene, he saw right through his opponent. And just as importantly, the interrogation never felt like an interrogation. He played intellectual games. In the cinema episode, he already had a fully formed plan. He had captured Utovich, prepared 3 glasses for himself, Utovich and Rain, and was ready for negotiations with the Americans. If the Bastards operation failed, he had a backup plan. Shosanna, the British general, claimed that Operation Kino was the brainchild of Bridget von Hammersmark, but in reality, it was the creation of Hans Landa alone. Seeing a convenient opportunity, he decided to switch sides to the Americans, fully aware that the war was already lost. At the beginning of the film, he takes pride in the title, Jew Hunter, but by the end, he calls it absurd, claiming he's just a detective. He searches for people, and if he had to search for Jews, it was simply part of the job. He tries to cleanse his reputation before ending up with the Americans. But as Utovich points out, the nickname stuck. It won't wash off. Now let's look at the tavern scene. Lieutenant Hellstrom tries to figure out what the bastards are doing there and how von Hammersmark is involved. At first, it seems they were exposed by the 3-finger gesture, unusual for Germans, because at that moment, Hellstrom's expression shifts sharply from relaxed to hostile, and he points his pistol at Hicox. But the film shows that it wasn't the gesture that gave them away. That assumption was voiced only by von Hammersmark. In reality, Hellstrom saw through the bastards much earlier, right when he approached the table. He didn't just suspect them, he was certain they were fake officers. He noticed Hicox's strange accent. Trying to justify it, Hicox claimed he was from a village at the foot of Pispaloo, and that everyone there spoke that way. He also said he had acted in a film with Riefenstahl. Hellstrom was convinced that Hicox hadn't seen the film or only vaguely remembered it. What Hicox couldn't have predicted was that the White Hell of Pispaloo had literally been screened at Shosanna's cinema just the day before. When Friedrich Zoller thanks her for organizing the German film evenings, we see a poster for Georg Papst's The White Hell of Pispaloo, starring Riefenstahl. Hellstrom was there and remembers the film well. He's passionate about cinema and knows it inside out. He's surprised by how accurately Hicox describes the film's details. Before the war, Hicox was a film critic and had published 2 books on German cinema. Hellstrom suspects that he's facing that very British critic, and to confirm it, he suggests playing the game, Who Am I? He writes the name of the film's director, Georg Papst, on a card, the same director Hicox had written about. What's most interesting is that for Hicox, he wrote Brigitte Horney, an actress who became famous after the 1943 film Munchausen. That film was commissioned by Goebbels, and Hicox couldn't have seen it, as it was never exported outside Germany. Hellstrom knew this. He deliberately chose an actress whose films Hicox couldn't possibly have seen. If it had been Hicox's turn, He would have named dozens of older films, but not Munchausen, thereby exposing himself. While Hellstrom had doubts about Hicox's identity, he immediately recognized Wilhelm Wicke and Hugo Stiglitz. They were the only native Germans in the Bastards unit. Stiglitz was famous. His photo had been printed in newspapers, and Hellstrom undoubtedly recognized him. He knows all the German officers stationed in France. He even jokes that he only knows the ones worth knowing. As a Sturmbannführer responsible for internal security, he's required to know every sergeant and quartermaster in Paris. It's clear he realizes that the men before him aren't real officers. They're members of the Bastards unit. Sergeant Werner Rachmann said that every German soldier had heard of Hugo Stiglitz. His photo was on the front page of every newspaper. Both Landa and Hellstrom knew that Stiglitz had recently been freed by the Bastards, among whom was Wilhelm Wicke. Hellstrom mocks Stiglitz, first by slapping him on the shoulder and forcing him to change seats, then by making him write a name on a card. He knows the pub is packed with soldiers and Stiglitz won't be able to act freely. When he stands up during the card game, Hicox gives a signal and Stiglitz responds, "We've been exposed." Hellstrom's actions may seem suicidal, but on closer inspection it becomes clear. He's trying to get the Bastards drunk and disarmed. He keeps proposing toasts, encouraging them to drink, playing games with them. Meanwhile, he barely drinks himself, just sips his beer. Hellstrom wants to get them drunk and extract the truth, what's going on and how the German actress is involved. Why did he react so sharply to the three-finger gesture? Perhaps he was simply disappointed. Like Landa, he saw such mistakes as an insult to professionalism. He took pride in his wit, and when Hicox slipped up so foolishly, Dieter felt offended. "Do you really think I wouldn't notice?" Pretending not to notice it. One way or another, he got carried away. The situation spiraled out of control. This scene closely mirrors the one in the cinema, a German officer mocking three officers. Then, another German officer mocks three fake Italians, and in both cases, we hear ridiculous excuses. This film is a critique of movies in its genre. The enemy is not portrayed as a bunch of fools, but as top-tier professionals. It's a film about partisans and spies, yet they're exposed like children in nearly every scene. It's a historical film, but completely inaccurate. It's a patriotic war movie, but told from a radically different perspective. The war is ended by one of the most brutal German colonels. It's a story about valiant heroes, yet the main characters can hardly be called noble. They scalp ordinary soldiers who are simply following orders. At the same time, German soldiers are portrayed as honorable men. If we compare Aldo Rain and Hans Landa, we find they are quite similar. Two commanders who claim to have come down from the mountains to join the war. Hitler pulled Landa out of the Austrian Alps, while Rain descended from the damn Smoky Mountains. Both commanders are ruthless toward the enemy. Both are arrogant. This film is filled with violence, yet it critiques violence used in the wrong context. Throughout the movie, we see several scenes where Aldo Rain's unit kills Nazis, and we view those killings as justified. But later, we watch Nazis viewing Nation's Pride, a film about killing Americans, and they too see those killings as justified. Tarantino emphasizes this parallel. In Nation's Pride, Private Zoller kills an American soldier who falls out of a window with the iconic Wilhelm scream. The crowd delights in the spectacle. Later, when the chaos erupts, we see a German fall from a window with almost the same scream, and now we are the ones enjoying the spectacle. We're watching a film where 350 Nazis are killed, who themselves are watching a film where 250 Americans are killed. It's as if Tarantino is saying, if you came to see a patriotic war movie, take a look at yourself. How different are we from the audience of Nation's Pride? It's all about context. In Inglourious Basterds, we find ourselves rooting for Americans, Brits, French, Germans, and even, to some extent, Italians. Ultimately, we're just rooting for a good movie, for glorious shootouts and chillingly dramatic dialogue. Tarantino suggests that violence in cinema is neither good nor evil. It's simply violence. It's wrong to exploit patriotism and force the audience to side with one faction. In doing so, the viewer becomes no different from the audience of Nation's Pride. Inglourious Basterds doesn't resemble a classic war film or action movie. It's closer to a Western, where there are no good or bad guys, just characters who survive the ordeal and ride off into the sunset as if nothing happened.